What's up, sailboat people? In this week's episode, we do two things that are freaking awesome. One, we get the boat back from the boat shop and we get it in the water. Two, we actually go sailing. Finally. I can't believe it. We're actually doing it.
And for those awesome viewers who stick around to the end of the episode, you'll get a sneak peek at next episode's docking fiasco.
So if you watched last week's episode, you know that we just spent a bunch of money and a couple of weeks at the boat shop having some experts actually fix up the bottom of the boat. We replaced through holes, we sanded, faired, and painted the bottom of the boat. We put in a new cutlass bearing. We replaced the prop. We just did a bunch of work to basically give us peace of mind that we knew the bottom of the boat was in good shape. You know, that's the thing you don't see. That's the part of the boat that you don't get to inspect regularly. So for us, that was an investment that we were willing to make. The boat was ready to be picked up on a Friday, and as it turned out, Jillian couldn't be there, so I asked a buddy of mine, Anders, to come with me. I told him, you know, it's going to be super easy. We're just going to hop in, we're going to fire up the motor, we're going to motor a couple of hours back to the marina, and it's going to be super chill and relaxing. It's going to be great. Just come along with me. I need an extra set of hands. So we got to the boat shop and we, settled up the invoices and said thanks for the work, and they put us back in the water. Once the boat was in the water, we hopped on board, and their head mechanic came on board to make sure there was no leaks, to make sure that all the through holes were holding out water. Yeah, it was awesome. We were all super excited. They gave us the thumbs up and helped us untie our lines and push off, and we pulled a U-turn and just started heading back towards the marina. As you leave Cabrillo Boat Shop, you're going through a working channel, and so on this particular Friday, there was two really large container ships. There were, I guess, loading or unloading, who knows. Yeah, it was pretty intense to be in a small sailboat and looking up, oh God, those are huge. And you have that thought in the back of your head, like, man, I hope nothing goes wrong. And in the minute I thought that, I also thought, did I check the back of the boat when we turned the engine on? Did I ensure that we have water actually flowing through the engine? So I hustled to the back of the boat and I leaned over and I took a look to see if there was water coming out, and there wasn't. And I honestly thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. The engine was loud and we had a bit of a wake from the prop pushing us along. I turned around to get back in the cockpit and talk to Anders about it. And right as I got back in the cockpit, I could start to see some steam and smoke coming out of the engine compartment. And I was like, oh man, I can't believe this is happening to me right now. I jumped into the salon of the boat, opened up the engine compartment, and sure enough, to the touch, the engine was already getting really hot, and I could see some steam coming off the top and some smoke where I think some oil residue was starting to kind of burn off the top of the block. I wasn't really sure what to do in that moment, but I figured that the best thing to do is turn the engine off. We cut the engine off. We had a little bit of momentum going, so we just kind of started to drift. And in that moment, I realized, like, oh no, I need to get control of the boat, and there's nobody around to help us. There's no place to tie up. We're approaching the bridge. It's all industrial, right? There's nothing around that's like friendly where you can just pull over and throw a line. Let's put up the mainsail. We can catch some wind and we can sail our way out of here. I haven't done it yet on this boat, but I know what to do. I can make it happen. So I hopped on the deck and I hoisted the mainsail, got back in the cockpit, got ready to maneuver and to sail us out of there, and we had no wind. If it's possible to have negative wind, we had negative wind. We just kind of sat there, and Anders looked at me and I looked at him like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And the boat just started to spin slowly in circles like a top. I called Jillian and in a very panicky voice was like, hey, give me the number for Boat US. I know we have an account with them. I need to call them. And she's like, what's going on? I was like, I can't explain right now. Just give me the number. She gave me the number. Yeah, I promptly hung up. I was like, well, do I really want to call Boat US? I mean, like, we're not going anywhere. There's danger on all sides, but we're not really heading towards any one particular piece of danger right now. So then I tried calling the boat shop and I was like, do you guys have maybe a big dinghy you could come hip tied to us and kind of help us limp back to the boat shop without having to turn the engine back on? And they were like, no, we don't have that. Maybe we can find somebody to help you. Are you okay? What can we do? And I was like, I don't know. Should I call Boat US? And they're like, I don't know. Do you want to call them? So we kind of went back and forth. We ended up just kind of sitting still for about 15, 20 minutes to see what was going to happen. To see if maybe the wind would pick up. Maybe we could sail back to the boat shop. While we were sitting, thinking and wondering what's going to happen, Jillian was in a panic.
Hey, hi. This is Jillian. My husband picked up our boat today, but I just got a distress call from him asking me to text him the boat US number, and he hung up. Very worried something bad is happening.
Oh, don't worry about it, Jillian. We can actually see him from the yard. Doing circles under the bridge. It looks like he's trying to catch some wind. He'll be okay. We'll keep an eye on him.
He's doing circles. Oh, geez.
Eventually, Anders and I, we talked about it and we're like, it's not awesome, but I think if we turn the engine on and turn the boat around and get some inertia going, we can go back down the channel, we can get past those two big cargo ships before the engine starts to overheat again, and that should get us close enough to the boat shop that we can get back over there and tie up. So that's what we did. And sure enough, the engine started to get really hot really fast, but we were able to get just enough inertia to go back down and to kind of split back between those two tankers and get tied up at the boat shop. As luck would have it, their mechanic actually stayed and hung out long enough to check on us. And he came down and pretty quickly diagnosed what was going on. He took the front cover off the water pump, pointed it out, and was like, look, your impeller has just, basically exploded inside of the water pump. And so he pulled it out. We got all the pieces out of there. And then he was like, I don't know where you're going to get this part. And I was like, you know what? I think I have a replacement part for that. When I bought the boat, I inherited this box of just random pieces of stuff, but I had remembered seeing what looked like an impeller. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I didn't throw it out either. And so I went and I found it and I showed it to the mechanic and I was like, hey, is this the thing you're looking for? And he's like, oh my gosh, that looks like that's exactly what we need. Now it was used, it wasn't in good condition, but it was better than the exploded one. So I put a bunch of water on it, put it in, put the cover back on the water pump and fired the engine back up. And sure enough, instantly we had circulation of water through the engine and it came out the back again. It did leak a bunch in the water pump because we'd ripped the gasket off when we took the front plate off. The mechanic said, look, your engine's cool now. You're going to leak some water into the bilge, but if you don't mind getting that water out later, you should be okay. And I was like, yes, untie us. We're out of here. Let's get back to the marina. And so that's what we did. Anders and I, we started our same trip again, did a U-turn and went right back out. And this time we had no trouble, no drama, and we enjoyed a leisurely, slow motor all the way back to the marina.
Got my first mate for the day.
We did it. Anders and I, men of action. We replaced an impeller. We have a super drippy water pump that we need to replace, but I think we'll make it back. Hopefully, fingers crossed, making a run for it. So, yeehaw!
The next day, Jillian and I went right back down to the boat. Now that we knew that the bottom was in good condition, that the motor was working fine, the water pump was leaking some, and I would have to get to that, but we're like, now's the day, it's great weather, let's get out there. So we fired up the engine and we threw off the lines from the mooring ball and we headed right back out to Long Beach Harbor. Once we found a nice spot, Jillian put us into the wind. I went up front. I hoisted the mainsail and went back to the cockpit and we got to sailing. It was awesome to kind of finally feel how this boat wants to sail. We were both pleasantly surprised at how easy it was to sail the Hawk. She wants to go in a straight line. That's her favorite way to operate. She's big and she's heavy, but if you point her in a straight line, she really wants to go.
We're sailing!
We did it. Engine's off. Look up. Sail is up.
The wind is in our sail. It's a beautiful day. Good job, baby.
The tiller is really long. It makes it awkward to get around the cockpit. That's kind of not my favorite thing. But if you were in, heavy seas, having that long tiller gives you more leverage on the rudder. So I could see how that design makes sense for this kind of boat.
What do you think, babe?
I love it. It's so beautiful. This is so much better than powerboat. As we listen to a guy asking for gas.
The first time we tried to hoist the jib, it didn't go as awesome as I'd hoped, and it was kind of anticlimactic. When we hoisted it up, the tack was attached to the bow in such a way that it wouldn't clear the safety lines. So it was kind of leaning against them. And I don't know, I didn't like how that looked, and we weren't getting a very nice shape in the sail. And I thought that maybe I might do some damage to the boat. In retrospect, that was probably me being overly sensitive. And we had the most awesome day. It was the first time we got to experience the joy of sailing all on our own.
Well, I've been talking about this for 3 years, and now we're finally sailing. No instructors, no one to bail us out if we wreck.
It was a great first day, and we didn't push it. We went right back to the mooring ball and tied back up and celebrated, but we were super stoked to have that out of the way. Unfortunately, when we got back, I realized that that water pump was starting to leak even more. It had leaked a bunch of water into the bilge. So I hopped online that night, and I think I went on eBay, but I was able to find a rebuild kit. You know, I think it's $200, or to buy like a replacement water pump entirely was like $700.
So I got the major repair kit for the Sherwood G65 water pump that goes with the 4108, and you can see here all the pieces that came with it. I'm only going to install a couple of the pieces from the kit that I need right now, and I'll save the rest in case those go bad in the future. I'd seen a tip online, thanks YouTube, on how to get these impellers into the water housing. Take zip ties and zip tie the fins on the impeller in the direction that you want them to go, that will make it easier to actually get the impeller into the housing. I started pushing, slash cursing, slash wiggling, slash pushing some more, and eventually I was able to shove this impeller into the water housing.
That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
At the same time having to kind of slowly pull back on that zip tie, because obviously you don't want the zip tie inside of there, but in the end it worked. So, thanks YouTube for that easy tip on how to get an impeller into the water housing.
Look at that. Boom. That wasn't so bad. And one thing you can see here on the Sherwood plate is that there's no longer, if there ever was, there's no longer a gasket. There's not like an edge that you could put like a gasket ring around this. On the replacement kit, you can see that there's already a gasket seated into those grooves. So I don't know if perhaps just over time, I don't know when this was replaced last, maybe it just got worn off and worn down, but I'm gonna put on the replacement and see how that works. So I may have to go to the store and get new screws. This plate isn't countersunk, so I can't tell if I've got enough bite on these screws to really get that plate tight. So I'm gonna turn on the engine, and if it, it may just leak everywhere and I have to do it again.
Look at that, no leaks. Huzzah!
Now that we have the water pump sorted, we were ready to get right back out there again.
Got the jib up. It's a beautiful day. What do you think, babe?
Woo!
What's your level of confidence right now with our 50-year-old sail?
On the second day of sailing, the winds were a little bit spicier. It was enough wind that it made me hesitant to put up both the jib and the mainsail at the same time. I thought we might be a little overpowered. I have yet to actually test our reefing points in the mainsail. I know we have 2 reefing points. I haven't actually done that before, and I didn't want to try doing that when it was, kind of heavier winds. So we put the jib up. It worked really well, and we just shot right out there, and we went about 2.5 miles offshore.
Hey babe, we're outside the creek water for the first time. How are you feeling?
Awesome. I'm exhilarated. I'm a little nervous. But yeah, so far so good. Gotta go a ways and turn around and go back and call it a successful day.
Yeah.
It is weird to kind of be like be sailing blind, because we don't have any real instrumentation up here. We don't have a compass. We're just like line of sight. Good stuff. Look at that. Look at the water.
Keep going, babe. Let's just go to Catalina. Let's just keep going.
There's a feeling you get like when you kind of get out into the vastness of the ocean, and the horizon starts to fall away and there's nothing on the horizon. It's just water basically in all directions. Eventually we turned around and we didn't want to push our luck, and we headed back to the harbor. And thankfully we did, because the winds picked up even more. So we brought the jib down, we put the mainsail back up, and we got to have a nice little bit of sporty sailing to get back to the marina. Shockingly, Lehawk points fairly well. Everything I'd read, heavy displacement boats don't point very well, which is to say they don't sail into the wind very well. As far as I'm concerned, it did really well. I mean, we were, what do I know? I'm a newbie, but I was really stoked because I felt like we were sailing directly into the wind. This was a moment that felt good. It was a couple of months coming, and it was a bit of validation that I wasn't a complete idiot for buying this old abandoned sailboat and trying to bring it back to life. It's those moments that it just makes everything worth it. Thanks so much for watching today. It really does mean a lot to Jillian and I. There's still a ton to do on this boat. The laundry list is super long. So I hope you'll come back next week. We hope you'll give us a like. We'd love it if you'd leave us a comment. Every time you do something like that, it tells YouTube that people are interested in our content and will recommend this video to other people who are like-minded, who might be just like you. They might be into sailing, might be into refitting an old sailboat, or maybe they're just curious and interested in this kind of strange adventure that we're on. We do have a major milestone next week. We finally get a slip at our marina, and moving in doesn't go quite as smoothly as I'd hoped. Yeah, I almost speared Jillian with the bow of the boat. Not good.